corruption of the police. Police, very corrupt. Confiscating people's motorcycles, these borders. Land evictions. So, this is the line of the elite. The line of the masses is there, but the elite, who are part of us, have their own line. Now, because of that, you get frustrations among the people.
The president has always warned against evictions, usually by landlords taking advantage of illiterate bona fide bibanja occupants. However, land evictions, largely by top government officials with the aid of security personnel in police, are never ending. On July 19, 2020, under the cover of the pitch-black sky towards the crack of dawn, the Police Land Protection Unit dispatched 3 trucks to Lweza village along the Kajansi-Munyonyo stretch of the Entebbe Expressway. They fired tear gas and live bullets, razed down houses and gardens as locals fled in disarray. The ownership of the prime land in question, which is measuring about 154 acres touching the Lake Victoria marshland, has been under contestation. Earlier on June 15, 2020, the High Court issued an injunction against a group of bibanja holders led by Muhammad Sewaya, restraining them from claiming an interest on this land listed as blocks 537 and 532. The lawyers of Jamada Musi, who claims ownership of the land through his company Chikonyogo Investments, wrote to police directing them to enforce the order. The commandant of police's land protection unit, Charles Mutunji, instructed the Kampala Metropolitan Police Commander on June 29, 2020, who subsequently assigned the Kajansi DPC to, among others, deploy, but only read and explain the contents of the order to the parties and not participate in any exercise. Furthermore, Mutungi wrote to the High Court Land Division on June 26, 2020, seeking clarification on the court order issued. The court registrar responded on July 6, confirming they issued the order, but noted it was not an eviction order. But to the contrary, police raided the village as residents captured images of the force brutalizing their colleagues in torn and bloodied clothes. Residents say they first heard of Jamada in 2011.
Then that gentleman has been provoking us. He says it's his land, then he says it's owned by an Indian. But he doesn't have any proof that the land is his. In the end, he brought a title from Busiro, which is far from where we are. It is that fake title that he used to evict us.
I was born and raised here. Jamad and his company, Chikonyogo Investments, first came here in 2011. And in 2016, brought graders which raised our gardens in an attempt to provoke us. The land title that he has shows his land is in Busiro, and yet the land he's trying to steal is in Chadondo. They've been killing, torturing and maiming people since, using the police. At least they should compensate us if they want to take over our land. They destroyed everything we have, and right now we've been ready.
He said his land had got lost and he found it this side. He has never brought a document to show proof. Even UNRWA failed to compensate us after taking part of our land.
When plans for the construction of the Kampala-Entebbe Expressway became public, a mad rush to acquire land attracted high compensation rates fixed by commission agents. Construction of the road commenced in November 2012 at a cost of 1.7 trillion shillings borrowed from Exim Bank of China. Muhammad Sewaya, who claims that he inherited the land from his late grandfather, explained how this land row commenced.
The land belonged to my late grandfather. Then I sold to other people and other relatives of mine were settlers. Jamada came from nowhere to say this land is his. They are harassing people since then.
The documents Sewaya possesses references the land in question as Block 270 in Chadondo. However, the other documents show the land as Jamada's, which is referenced as Block 537 in Busiro. This land has been fenced off and is guarded by the police. Several senior security officials have been linked with having an interest on the land.
Each time they come here, they are using a name of some ranking official in government. So we wonder, why don't these faceless owners reveal themselves?
They should compensate us if they want to take over our land. They destroyed everything we have, and right now we've been reduced to paupers. Sometimes they say, who took over the land, so we should give up our case. They're always brandishing new machine guns, and it's like we are in a barracks.
We have appealed to everyone. We reached out to Major General Sabiti Museveni on why they were evicting us. They are using top officials.
Sam Lutwama, the former LC1 chairperson, told NTV he first heard of Jamada when he was feuding with another group of Indians over a nearby piece of land.
Says they reached a deal with a certain Indian to acquire this land. So the part that he got is where these people were settled. His coming was chaotic. He says they acquired this land from an Indian.
Jamada exploited the rift to claim a bigger interest on the land.
His coming was chaotic. He says they acquired this land from an Indian. There was another Indian who just owned this land but died and was taken over by another.
NTV called Jamada on his known phone several times for a comment, but he did not respond. In a handwritten will dated December 28, 1982, Sewaya's late grandfather detailed circumstances under which he acquired this land in 1944. On several occasions, he attempted to acquire a title from the seller who was a senior official in the Kabaka Daudi Chwa's government. He further indicated that, but for as long as he continued paying Busulu, the ground rent payable by a tenant on Kabaka's land, his ownership went unchallenged.
Ng'owuli tamaze kulaga ne baleeta security ne bagiteeka ku ttaka nga naye tebamaze na kulipootinga nti oba ekitaka erikuumibwako lyerino kwe tuleetedde abasirikale. Enkola eyo si ntuufu mu butuufu. Abali mu makooti be bawaabidde mu makooti kikonyogo investment. Naye simanyi kiki kyatwalayo nga bw'oga nti ttaka lyange lyerino mpaabira abantu ku ttaka lino. N'agamba nti bajja mu kiseera kya COVID. Kyokka ng'ebiwandiiko by'abantu biraga bikadde omuli n'obusuulu.
The junior lands minister, Persis Namuganza, told Daily Monitor on Wednesday that Jamada's claim over Block 270 is both illegal and criminal. She said, and I quote, "I've been following that wrangle, and we even sent a government surveyor who indeed surveyed and showed that the land claimed by Musi is different from that where the residents were settled." People knowledgeable about the matter told NTV that several top officers in the army and police have been allocated plots. For instance, this area, we are told, is said to have been allotted to a senior commander in the chieftaincy of military intelligence, and next to him to some 2 commandants in police, ostensibly to turn a blind eye, but also to create a climate of fear. Land registry records show that the ownership for Block 537, which Jamada claims, has also been owned by several companies. In July 2007, it was registered to a company, UK Lakeside Development Limited. In August 2009, it changed to Lakeside Township Limited. Later in August 2009 to Sam Engola, now the State Minister for Housing. In July 2010, it reverted to Lakeside Township Limited. In August 2010, it changed to Kikonyogo Investments. In January 2011, to City businessman Hassan Basajabalaba's Harbour Group Limited. And in August 2015, it reverted to Kikonyogo Investments. Kikonyogo says he bought this land from Indians. An August 2020 land survey report commissioned by the Sewayas says their land straddles Block 270, which is part of the Crown Forest. On the other hand, an August 2014 survey report commissioned by Kikonyogo Investments and Lakeside City Limited in Block 537 detailed that data available in the land office did not correspond to the actual physical boundary existing on the ground. You find that the piece of land falls far away from the physical location affection of the areas of Lweza. The survey report reads in part, but when Jamada secured a court injunction, the Uganda National Roads Authority UNRA proceeded to advance part of the compensation to him.
Now, we had a consent, taken from court to actually proceed and pay. At that time, the landlord, who is Damani of Damani Properties, So we proceeded, and that money was actually paid with the consent from court. That was the first payment that was done. Because there were 3 contestations, but the first one was cleared after following a consent from court. Then we stayed with 2 other bibanja owners who again had this protracted battle. And for us, as you may know, that where there is such a dispute on land, we actually cannot proceed to pay. In fact, up to this point, we haven't cleared that second matter.
Sempewa says the matter is ongoing.
This is why, like I said, we cannot proceed to pay where there is a dispute. On all our projects across the country, UNRA cannot proceed to pay anyone if there has been a dispute cited. There has to be resolution of that dispute before we can proceed to make any single payment. And this is why we said we cannot touch that matter now. Let it go to court, and the court will decide. So we cannot proceed to pay at this point as it is. We have actually not proceeded to pay as yet.
In another twist, the Parliamentary Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, which probed the dubious acquisition of property under the departed Asians Property Custodian Board, raised a red flag over the same piece of land. In a June 2, 2020 letter, the agency's custodian, Abdu Byakatonda, wrote to Kosase detailing that they had received a complaint on this property. Several parties, including Damaniko Properties, Kikonyogo Investments, Bexas International Limited, the bibanja holders and government now claim an interest on this piece of land.